Well, hello and a warm welcome to you all. Thanks so much for joining this podcast. My name is Mark Morley, and this is the IT Business Partner Playbook, a new series where I'll be joined every week by business relationship managers and business partners from around the globe. I'll be inviting them to share their passion as well as their pains in the hope that we can help inspire innovation and creation utilizing this critical organizational capability. Last week we were with James Robotham, whose passion for BRM I think was obvious for everyone to see. Just as a side note, if anyone's keen to welcome James into their team, act fast because he's currently on the market but won't be for too long. For anyone who did miss that chat, you can find the video on our Executive Education Online YouTube channel, and the audio is uploaded to Spotify. And I'll share all the relevant links to that in the comments here. So on to today, and I'm honoured to welcome Jag Sohal, a BRM of over 10 years, who, like Jeremy, has been a key component in the UK BRM community. She's organised and supported multiple events and always very happy to offer help and advice. So Jag, I think now's a good time to hand over to you for an introduction, and then we can open the taps and let the wisdom flow.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you again for inviting me to the Playbook. I'm really excited to be here. So I am Jag Sohal. I'm an IT business relationship manager. I've been in the IT industry for 15 or 16 years. And as Mark said, 10 years as an IT business relationship manager across various industry sectors, starting off in manufacturing, which was Jaguar Land Rover, moving into construction and facilities management, and now a successful tenure in financial services as well.
Wonderful. So as I started with Jeremy, I'm just curious, what did today look like for you?
Today, it's a Friday. It's an office day for me. We're very flexible on the days that we can come in. So today's been just seeing the Christmas decorations go up.
Oh, lovely.
Got my earrings
there as well.
My nails done. So yeah, I'm looking at the calendar. There'll be different parts of me all festive as the days continue. So, and it was just been lovely to touch base with a few familiar faces in the office as well. And I think that's always really important, especially as a business relationship manager. One of the things that I love to do and would like to do more of is just the floor walking, just meeting people, stopping and chatting, and you never know what useful exchange you'll get. And people do appreciate it. You know, working at home can be quite lonesome at times. And so the days that I'm in, and we're currently doing discussing office moves where we'll be more of us together, that's more of an opportunity. I always see that as not a negative. I see it as more of an opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Do you have, so you have obviously a number of business partners you work with. Some of them, can you only meet virtually, or can you meet all of them physically?
I believe with the setup that we've got, we're able to meet a lot of our stakeholders physically. We do have a central office location. We have a head office location. We've got call centre services up and down the country. We have a 300 strong agency network. So I work for NFU Mutual, which is a financial services mutual provider. And you will see NFU Mutual up and down the country, the little agency offices as well. So that's the technology offering that we offer those agencies, as well as they bring their own technology because they are independent businesses in their own right as well. And that's really our unique selling point as a business relationship management function at NFU Mutual. We're at least a 23 strong team, so we must be up there in terms of ranking as to how much we've actually invested in our department. We've tripled, I would have to say, in the last 4 years, and that regional offering that we provide is second to none. It's absolutely critical to meet with our agents, to meet with that network, to explain what the future technology offerings are likely to be. If we didn't have that, we would just be deploying things across our agency network without any foresight of understanding how these things are actually landing and impacting. So the BRM offering it's really special here.
Wonderful. Do you find that the people that you work with, that they kind of adopt more of your ways of working, or do you think you'll get to the point where they can do more without you, or are you kind of convinced that you each have your own kind of roles, you know what you're doing, and that's the way it will continue to work?
We've got as a BRM function, we've got a fantastic structure. So we are facing to each division and various divisions. I am the business partner for Group IT, which is unique as well. So I definitely get a good actual opportunity to scan what's happening and get a sense of what's happening in the division. And likewise, I can exchange that with the BRMs who are perhaps more true customer facing out to our agency network, or for example our risk division, our finance division, and we work really well. They're my peers, they're my colleagues, and we have a great exchange. We generate a monthly dashboard which we've now started off as quite a narrative into that division. We're now maturing it to really condensing it for those areas, like your 3 headlines for that area. And we've recently noticed by condensing it to 3, we're picking out those themes across the divisions a lot more. So we know that there's certain technologies that, other areas are calling out, it's not quite right. Or we've got real stress areas in terms of resourcing, that we're looking as well. And that report each month for the last 3 years, I think it's been since we've matured it, goes to IT exec. And as a result, for IT exec who want to see the headlines, it's been hugely impactful, gives us a voice, gives our business areas a voice, and has driven some really positive actions as a result of exec focus on certain key issues as well.
Okay, wonderful. Who was the driver behind that? Who kind of came up with that idea?
I'm going to just shoulders here and say, so this was just before maternity leave. And I remember just saying to the team, I've got a template in mind. I think we're not doing enough to highlight upwards. So it was great to have that. Then I did go on mat leave, but I left the team to run with it. And it's been fantastic to see it move and shift.
Wonderful.
As well. So yeah, I am really proud of that. That's one bit of sort of tooling that's really helped. It's hard to count the benefits of what that really brings now.
Wonderful. Where does your BRM function roll up into?
So we, in this organisation, and it's different in every organisation as well, we roll up into the demand planning function, which actually ties in quite nicely with the bigger change and transformation engine. Well, they're still slightly separate to us, but we are recognised as being in partnership with that central change engine as well. And the fact that the work that we do, similar to Jeremy's call, actually, that we're always trying to identify where is this piece of demand really coming from? What is the bigger picture it's connected to? Is it on a capability roadmap, which I know Jeremy touched on as well?
Yeah.
And to help with that articulation, we can't, James's talk, we can't deliver everything. So we've done that cleanse of demand that we had. We prioritise the work. Not only does the BRM have a say on what the priority is amongst our collective, but our business areas get to call out what the priority is as well. And resources are constrained, but I do feel like, again, in the last 3 years, we've managed to apply some of the central principles of how they prioritise change with tech change, which won't always be the millions that we're talking about, but actually it's the change that keeps us nimble. It's the change that helps us to keep us, within regulation and prevent breaches and things like that. It's change that if we do change a vendor, we're right there with you. We can support that decision.
Okay, nice. So I assume it sounds like BRM as a function is very well received by both the business and IT within the NFU.
I would like to think so. I think we've got at the stage where we want to. So an objective we had this year was to actually work on that and to really take a look at our reputation. Not to say there's anything wrong with our reputation, but what could be doing more to improve our reputation. And within IT, it's often there are so many different teams. Being a business partner for IT, I've got over 20, managers, 25, 26 managers, all doing their own thing, all got their own priorities, all got their different ways of working and things like that. So there was definitely a call for, well, how do we make sure IT know that we're all here and what we do.
Yeah.
So to tackle the objective, there were a couple of things that we did which really stand out. Every fortnight, our CIO or the leadership or one or two of the leadership members will do a broadcast or out to all of IT. So we made sure that at least, we had a presence on those broadcasts when there was a slot available to do a bit of a download. So some of us set the scene on what BRM is, and then some of us have actually gone into what our business areas are doing. And I do have some areas that are non-IT. So I managed to actually showcase what they do within financial services. You get 6 minutes, so you're really concise as well.
Yeah.
But that allowed me to, obviously showcase what we do and get that feedback loop coming back to me to say, that was really insightful. That's great. Where do we find out more? And the timing of it couldn't have been better because I led the initiative to host our own BRM Connect event in October.
Yeah, I saw you posting the pictures for that. That looks,
and we were really, really proud of that. That was a huge. We're still a growing team. We've got new faces in the team. We all had our roles and responsibilities. I had to help with the PR, and that's my strength. I love PR, and to get that day and to have IT people come along and learn more and rotate around the tables. We all had our different stalls and topics and things. Finish off with a nice sort of like light entertainment quiz and things like that. The feedback, and I questioned why we needed to do feedback. I felt like we don't always want to be measured. It's always an unusual balance between we've given you this, opportunity, but I did get the feedback. And what I did really value is the fact that people did score it so highly and explained all the benefits of it. We had a few logistical niggles with that the tables were just closer together, so it was quite loud in there, but that's a minor compared to we actually did it. We actually made this happen. And so who knows what's on the cards for next year, if that could be done maybe at a divisional day. We've got group IT up to the numbers of permanent staff, approaching 600.
Right.
So if we could do that at a bigger scale and continue to do that, then that would be fantastic.
Was anything coming out of that day that you kind of weren't aware of? Were there people kind of revealing things that maybe weren't going so well that you could then work on?
There was definitely a plus side on our disconnected from our agency network, and I feel like that insight was hugely beneficial because we even visited an agency to produce a walkthrough video of an agency and bring it to life. Following that, this real wanting to visit an agency, and whether you've been in the company, whether you're a graduate, you've only been here 3 months, whether you've been here 3 years, 13 years, if you haven't been into the shop floor, it's like Jaguar Land Rover visit dealership. It's like visiting the agency. It's the same thing. You can't underestimate the impact that might have if you're a business analyst, if you're a systems developer, and if we're there just as their buddies to say, we'll come along with you. Let's go visit this agency together. Then that's going to reap its rewards. The fact that we've got senior leadership still kind of like putting their hands up and saying we'd like to go. That's been an offering there, and I think that's been really quite telling. That was definitely a gap that when we do as IT always need to be aware of stepping outside of our own role and function, really understanding where the customer comes into play in everything that we do.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important. Do you have, when you bring new BRM team members on, do you do any kind of special orientation with them? So I mentioned this to Jeremy, that normally you start a new job, you get your laptop and your passcode, and then you kind of, this is your description of what you need to do, but you don't generally go out and meet all the people you're working with. And I think as a BRM, that's something that's really, really important, that you actually go out and are introduced to these people and also have some kind of idea of what was going on before you arrived. Is that anything that you do?
We've got, and you're absolutely right, in a hybrid world, thankfully we're regional, we're not global, we're regional. It's getting that right balance. So again, this year, to help our team, we created our own team chart. So not only does that go into some of the etiquette, so if you're running late for a meeting, at least notifying that meeting, it's some of the hygiene factors around how we work better as a team, and we all at the early stage of this objective, collaborated on a whiteboard. We put forward what we'd like to see, etc. And that charter we've got now, thankfully, on like books and things, we've got it. That's something we can hold, proudly to say that we do care, and a lot of well-being comes into this. And you're absolutely right, whether you've come externally into our team or whether you've moved from an internal move. And again, I'm really proud. There's a proud sense with this team that half the makeup of our team don't have a history or background in IT. They've come from other parts of our business. So that says a lot about how we've promoted this role.
Yeah.
And to really hone in the fact that there's some softer skills at play that you can now, and it takes a lot of courage, I think. And I can sound, I haven't got the courage to do that yet. I've been IT, born and bred. So for them to do that, say, I'm going to leave customer services and join IT is fantastic. So that really did matter. You're absolutely right. So the charter absolutely helps. We have daily calls. They're only short calls, but we get to see each other. One of our calls is aimed at doing a quiz, something quite light-hearted. And travel's not always possible, so we have to balance it with when can we be physically being in an office versus when we should do things virtually as well. But fortunately, it's Christmas and we've got our team day next week.
Oh,
so
nice.
We'll be all in person. And they're really valuable, and I think that team motivation definitely counts. So in the summertime we met up again and we played bowls for after the whole objective session and everything else, and those are really lovely memories. And it's just remembering you're humans at the end of the day, and socializing and connecting is really important. And it's been massively helpful. So not only that they know that they can contact me for queries, I can go out and contact people who are new to the team to help me out as well.
Yeah, I think it's particularly important where you've got relationships that are maybe a bit tricky, that you do get that face-to-face connection, because it's much easier to kind of see where people are coming from when you're talking with them. If you're exchanging emails or on calls, it's not as easy to kind of understand their perspective, understand what their pressures are. So I think having those face-to-face meetings, especially with the tricky relationships, is really critical. It's great that you get to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
How's the culture at NFU compared to places that you've worked before? Is it pretty similar, or do you find it was a big change going there?
I wouldn't say it's the culture. I would say from my own development perspective, I was probably a bit too corporate. So when me and you met, I think I was this was 2018.
Yeah.
And I think I came with too much of a corporate mindset to BRM.
Right.
And it did reap its rewards, I would have to say, because it did mean I got BRM on the on the map at the organisation, and we had some really great successes. But I think my approach has definitely become more that human element of it and what really matters, and the fact that I've got managers here who are really talking to me about the team's well-being and workload and things like that shows you just have to shift tack. And I would any BRM, whatever your desire is career-wise and things like that, stick to just being authentic and stick to being sort of who you are. And I think here the company really complements that as well. Everyone's really genuine, really approachable, and that it says a lot from the CEO downwards, actually, that I've kind of pretty much spoken to everybody, and everyone's quite happy to have a conversation with you as well. So I think that's quite a testament to the organisation. Group IT as well, quarterly, they run something called a culture club, and that is a day.
Nice.
They vary in terms of the variety of things that we do and the purpose of them. But the fact that they're there and they allow you to, again, network and meet people and new faces and the like as well is hugely beneficial. My also point of view, we've had an introduction of diversity and inclusion at the workplace as well. From a central point of view, there's someone I've got now who I can work with, And
Okay.
for the last 2 years, I've done various things to recognise Diwali in the workplace. So I feel like as a voice of one, it's been really quite refreshing that
Right.
I actually managed to make that happen. And so last year, I organised a coach trip for 40 people who wanted to visit a local Hindu temple.
Okay.
So we did that last year. That was fantastic, and they gave us a great talk about the religion, about the customs, and what Diwali really means. Similarly, from a broader perspective, we distributed clay diyas to the offices as well, so people could decorate them and
Okay.
show them on their internal social media. And then this year, I wanted to do something more at the IT office. So a couple of weeks ago, working with my onshore team, we did a Diwali celebration on our ground floor here. And that was food, that was networking. And I think people just felt like, oh, we haven't had samosas for like ages, Jag. This is great. I was like, well, yeah, there's that. But, do stick around. Do talk to us. And the other highlight for me, communication said, if you really are, if you recognise Diwali, please, do come in your authentic attire. To recognise that, that's okay. And sometimes it's just giving people permission, and that's all I was really doing. I spoke to health and safety, and I spoke to properties about the space that we wanted to use, and so many people turned out in their authentic wear, and it was just a really, really lovely, joyous time.
That's really cool.
And coinciding with that, one of our main partners, whose offices are in Mumbai, we've just celebrated like a milestone achievement in our supplier relationship with them as well. So the timing of it, and it's end of year performance review, Mark. This is all looking good.
Excellent.
But it was all good fun, and I just think it shows, again, go back to BRM, the impact that you can have. So I knew there was a gap in culture and what my definition of culture would have been, and I feel like I've addressed that. And that's, I think,
That's wonderful. I mean,
the BRM. You can't put a price on what that meant to people.
No, and that's so much further outside of the scope than many would consider BRM. That'd be a BRM role. So that's wonderful that you've got involved in that and showing value. And then it's obviously lovely for those people that have that extra sense of belonging now. It's boosted morale. So obviously, all the things that come with that, it's really wonderful.
Yeah, there's a reason BRMs need to, I think, look into level 5 leadership. And I've never assigned myself the title, but I've been told that there is some element of level 5 leadership that comes into play where you're sensing the need for something. You go about you're the driving force, you cultivate it, you create it, and there's two examples now. I think the BRM UK community and Europe one is one, but the Diwali planning group here is two, that they're now motivated to just do more, that I could then, hand this off to other people and say, well, this year I want you to take the floor. I want you to do something creative and recognise it. And I think that's definitely, if you're a future leader, which BRMs are leaders, we have to recognise that we are leaders. That was definitely leading with intent.
Wonderful. Where do you go to for inspirational guidance? If you need teaching in some way, where do you go? Where do you look to for support and input?
Definitely our team, and definitely the management here as well. I think it's been really refreshing to, when you have an idea, the best way to validate that is to actually share it. And I think people lock themselves in fear of sharing.
Right.
And the best thing you can do is to share that idea, move past the fear, and actually help people guide you, because the more you circulate that idea, the more knowledge, the more their strengths come into play. So I would say, hands down, the BRM Connect event, I had an original view in mind of how I wanted it to happen. And I wanted to lock people in a room for half a day and keep them captive. And through discussing it with the team, and the team were a bit nervous, or like, this is Jag's idea, like, oh, do we have a say? Like, what should we? And I said, well, look, I think this is my original idea. And then I've managed to get this connection with someone who's new to the team, and she's wonderfully taken that idea and then I would just say artfully, just given some other suggestions. And she said, well, we've got half a day. Why don't we chop it into 3 bursts of sessions? So we get, 3 different kind of groups and give people that time back and things like that. That's helping me meet my kind of desire, this vision to do an event, but in a more practical sense, in a way that's going to meet other people's kind of time constraints in the workplace as well. So there's never any harm in sharing your ideas. That's the only way you're going to drive that creativity and move the organization forwards. And the BRM community will be a testament to that, because I shared some wacky ideas when I was part of that group, for things we could talk about, like ideas. And I just it will help you as an individual if you're still a junior BRM, or you feel like you're new to it, I should say, is find that community, find those people, and don't be afraid to share your ideas.
Right. Just, you mentioned their junior BRM, and I know it was not meant as a specific role in the way you said it, but I have seen advertised on LinkedIn, and there was even some of these questions where they can ask the expert, what does a junior BRM do? And that, I'd never heard of a junior BRM before, and it puzzled me, because I can't imagine you're either a BRM or you're not. Is that something you've ever come across in any of the roles you've had, any companies you work for, a junior or a senior BRM?
There is, and I don't know if that's specific to the UK, but I could definitely say in my career, when I knew I was junior compared to others, versus when I became more into my own as a business relationship manager. And that might be the case that when you are entry level, that you're considered more of kind of on the learning and developing side of things. But I wouldn't use, I would probably retract using the word junior. We have it slightly different in our workplace. You're a business relationship consultant or a business relationship manager.
Right.
And that, again, it just means that I've probably got more of a role and remit to make sure I get a good view of what's happening and what's coming along.
Yeah.
Whereas we've got the consultants who are helping with what's landing now, what's about to happen now. So they really actually help with the readiness when it comes to change a lot more than the business relationship managers can do. We're definitely in the realms of helping with the bigger strategic decisions, the big blockers at play.
Yeah.
But like I said, the other advantage, and something I'd recommend other companies to do, is when it came to our objectives this year, I think it was the first time we tried it. You have a BRM owning an objective, but you've got a cross section of the team who are part of that work, who become part of their objective team as well. And that's allowed me to work a lot closely with BRCs in finance, procurement, agency, who will come with their own views as well. So it goes back to the point, you have to work together, and everyone comes with a skill set, regardless if you're junior or not, or just like a relic like me. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I should have started with is what originally attracted you to the BRM role. Was it something you kind of consciously looked for or applied for, or is it something you fell into?
That's always a fascinating question, because that would have come from knowledge, and coming out of university, I would have had no knowledge about BRM. Coming out of university, I think you usually go for is, I think I know there's BAs, or there's service desk analysts. There's very little knowledge, and that's changed a lot given the time that I was at university as well. So my journey came from being very technical, second line support, into a technical database administrator role, then through different sort of observations to say that your strengths are with our stakeholders, with the heads of, and the fact that you guide them through change, and those strengths started to come through.
Yeah.
And that's the key bit for me, is to make sure when you see talent coming in that you recognize what their strengths are and you share those strengths with them, because that will be hugely impactful for their career.
Yeah.
And that's what guided me to business analysis and business relationship management as well. Are there other roles that I'm interested in? I think there's definitely, again, Jeremy touched on this in terms of overlap. So product ownership is great if you've got a certain domain level interest.
Yeah.
That's always, quite appealing. There's customer success managers as well, which was a very Salesforce driven approach to not only sales, but also you're invested in that client or clients, and you want to get out the best that they've already invested in that technology as well.
Yeah.
They're very similar, like very, very similar as well. So there's definitely overlap in terms of what the core BRM offering is versus where it can take you. So yeah.
Do you ever miss kind of the more technical side of those roles that you used to have? And are you ever in danger of kind of getting too involved in those just because you want to have a go again?
It's put me in good stead to actually work with architects on more sort of technical conversations and designs and things like that. So it's nice to visually look at things that the business analysis team are pulling together, or architecture, and I think having that technical knowledge is great. It's just not essential. I just don't know if it's always essential. We have to be guided when we're introducing change. The BRM has to make sure that you're the voice of that customer. And you can't necessarily be too precious on who the delivery person's going to be, how it's about to be delivered. That there are certain things that can be out of your control. All you can go back to is set those expectations with the customer, replay those expectations back into those various teams, and that it all then all comes into play and into line. For example, there's been some change in how we manage tech change at the workplace as well, and that's still maturing. But there was a small piece of work that did become elongated through our process. And again, as pragmatic as you have to be as a business relationship manager, you have to explain to the people who are keen to deliver that I understand why we took so long. I understand that architects are applying. I understand the lens in terms of we can't proceed without a high level design for that particular area. So for me to always be central, and I know I'm going to get all the feedback and the heat, and it's not, you have to not take it personally, but you have to explain. And I've had to do a recent write-up to say that although we haven't, it's not been a catastrophic end by no means, we have still delivered, but your perception of bottlenecks, well, I'll just demystify that for you now and explain all the different elements to tech change. And perhaps the lessons learned here is, we start the conversations a bit earlier next time, or we work with this new process that's coming, and we make sure we're fully involved. And so I think that's important as a BRM, to never take it personally, but do your best then. And if, for example, doing a lessons learned, doing a write-up, that's not necessarily the PM role, that can be your role too, just to articulate it to the business areas in your own words. And I think they would really appreciate that and say, well, actually you've done that for us. We didn't ask you to do that, but you've done it for us.
This ability to not take things personal, is that something you think, because I know some people that just do take everything personally. Is it something that you've kind of matured? Is it something that you've either got or you haven't? What's your do you know BRMs in your team that just do have that as a problem? They just do take things too personally.
It's a real juggle, and I'll go back to James's playbook, whereby the climate suddenly changed, and you're seen as a role, as a function, as a department that people are having a little second look at and things like that. So, and that can happen in a relationship with a stakeholder where they're not quite fully bought in. And believe me, it's hard to explain to IT I'm their IT partner. So because the rest of my areas are very vocal, and they will tell me what they think of IT, because they're, and they're our neighbours, you know, across the fence. When I'm asking for the real reasons why there's certain challenges in IT, it can get political. It can be that we want to share, but we don't want to share that much.
Right.
So it's always a maturing process. I would just encourage people to keep at it. Don't let it get you down. If there's just one or something that's not quite working, then find other ways around it. There's usually some kind of hook. There's something that manager or that individual wants or needs that they haven't quite realised yet, that you could be the vehicle to help them with that. Be it a new working group, be it a new something new that they want to do. Always look at things new, because then I think that's where the BRM can kind of find the time to assess and understand and share as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just don't take it personally. Also, I think being a female in IT and BRM, sometimes you can potentially think, is it me? And I think that's really kind of that added layer of saying it's not you. Perhaps men are more naturally inclined to talk to other men. That might still be happening unconsciously, but you've got to remember to leave your biases at the door. Still lead being yourself and coming with the knowledge and the approach that you want to take. Because I know sometimes my energy levels can be quite high, and I'm like keen. I'm so keen, and someone else might be a bit more subdued and a bit more like, whoa, like this is a lot. Maybe feel threatened by it. Maybe feel a bit like there's too many unknowns. And so then try different things, especially, you know, with IT characters. It's almost like I have to structure the agenda. They don't want surprises. So I need to say exactly what I'm about to just appear on your screens, and this is what I want to talk about. I had one meeting and I talked for about 15 minutes and no one said anything. And then the manager said, "Oh, when you left, they had plenty to say. They said it was great,
Sure,
you know, they didn't know that's what you did. They were, oh, this is great." And I was like, "Oh, well, it's great when they said that when I left the room." I thought, she goes, "That's what they're like." And she said, "Oh, well, you know, but they know now, Jag, they know." And I went, "Okay, well, that's okay." But just there are certain, you know, there's micro cultures within teams that you're just not, and as a BRM team, we're not like that. So it's just something you recognize.
What lesson have you learned throughout these years that you think has kind of served you the best in your ability to be a BRM?
My lesson would be adaptability, fluidity, and it's ever changing as well. And Jeremy and James have a testament to that as well, that different organizations run things slightly differently. I've had various roles. So my previous role was head of BRM and IT vendor management, and so that, you know, relationship building and setting out the foundations was important to me. Here I'm a business relationship manager, but I have some really important divisional responsibilities and things like that. So, and again, working team, a BRM can sometimes be lone wolf versus working in a team. You've got to adapt to the makeup that's what's important to the team and the company values as well, and what's important to those company company at the time. So yeah, I've definitely had to change and adapt quite a lot over the years, and you have to do that with humility. It's not something you can say, well, I'm on this trajectory and I expect to remain like that. It's actually, you know, with any kind of change, it, you know, goes back to well-being, and if you feel like you need to do something slightly different, then by all means, you know, do it. And sometimes you probably have got a lot to say and people just don't want to hear it as well. That's something you've just got to kind of deal with and slowly sort of chip away as well. So I'm fortunate enough that the pace that I'm taking in certain areas is actually landing pretty well. It's like another IT department where, again, very defensive, didn't want to quite share what was going on, you know. And I was like, I know you deal with threats, but I'm not a threat. Like, you deal with like, hacking and phishing, and I'm not fishing for, like, you know, secret data. Just open up, guys. And that's slowly now that's started to help, because they're like, "Oh, actually, you can help us with comms, can't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I can." Or, "You can help us work better with the tools that your team are using." Well, actually, yes, we can. So it's just a pace to things in some circumstances. It's not one size fits all. That's I think that's the key with BRM as well.
Yeah. Just going back, you touched on vendor management, and that's been a role that I've seen is a great BRM role, and not something that's talked about that often, and certainly not when we've, a lot of the courses and material that we've looked at. Vendor management is not really seen as a BRM thing, but what would be your kind of view on that?
So the vendor management role, again, there's that balance between it can get governance heavy, and vendor can then sometimes lose sight of actually the value or how things are kind of playing out in reality as well. So there is a supplier relationship management aspect to it, and I think companies need to be probably a little bit less precious about where that kind of overall relationship sits.
Right.
So our team, we have got technology focused, like Microsoft focused BRM capability as well. So they are now, once the contract's in place, we can take that on. We can work with the success manager. We can work on the roadmap, and we've got those guardrails in place. And that's actually a really healthy way of looking at it. That's not to say vendor are not part of the whole process. Vendor are absolutely still part of the journey as well. We recently this year also focused on cost savings. It was sort of what is the art of the possible in terms of our department saving costs and cost avoidance. And it was quite fascinating, really, because we work with a partner on an operational basis. And once you started to look at the quotes for doing, so certain things within business as usual activity, some things perhaps just step out of that, but you'd still get a quote for the work and the variances. And it was fascinating. So the first half of the year was looking at these variances and starting to kind of come from a view of curiosity to say, well, why is there a slight regional difference, with these quotes, or why this line suddenly appeared that wasn't in previously? So always going from a point of curiosity, because we work with these individuals operationally, but then to bring in vendor and say the contract says nothing about any regional differences, so we can kind of nip this in the bud now. We've saved the company thousands of pounds by doing that. And that's where I think again that's just another BRM advantage, that we've actually shown a benefit, quite a substantial link between vendor versus reality versus how we mature the relationship as well.
And is this something that you would have included in your reports, that you share with people?
So I created a whole sort of tagline about it this year, and the aspiration, the vision was to create a cross section of group IT to be part of a working group to focus on cost savings. And in order to do that, the leadership advice was to gather the data. So it's nice now because we've become that case study. We've actually articulated how we've done it as a team. I presented that to the people managers last week as well. And again, that's the advantage of BRM, is if there is something quite compelling happening at a board level or a divisional level. So our CIO has got cost savings at, let's say, a strategic level. How can you break that down and deduce it to say something? What can we take from that and assign ourselves to contribute to? Then value becomes undeniable. It's kind of that make it stating the obvious. Like, we've helped you with that bigger picture objective, and now we're looking to build on it, or we're now and I love the idea of a working group, but whether that happens or not, I don't know. But I still think what we've done is absolutely incredible in a busy time, to actually say we've actually stopped and looked at an invoice and saying that's not right, and we're not going to continue until we get it right. That's some really good practices that we're hoping people will adopt, and we've had some really good feedback, and I've had some further ideas that potentially might take off next year as well.
Wonderful, great stuff. Lots to look forward to next year then.
This is like my CV coming to life. This is Mark. Great.
Well, you're remembering all these amazing things that you've done, so
it's exciting. It's exciting. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I see we're almost coming to the end of our time here. So as I've asked the two guys previous, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Any pearl of wisdom that you can impart, that you can share with your peers?
So to my peers, I would say you're not alone. A lot of our challenges are shared challenges, and if the first step is reaching out to the BRM UK and Europe community on LinkedIn, getting to know the team, hopefully coming along to one of the meetup days, it really does reap a lot of rewards. And we've got, we have conversations in the forum. We're having lots of conversations outside that forum now as well, because like minds and friendships and connections are being made. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. So I feel like I wouldn't still be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for the rest of my peers and my community.
Wow.
who kind of have supported me as well.
Wonderful. No, they're a great bunch of people, and as I've said before, it's one of the reasons we love working with BRM, because it's because of the community, and it's beyond UK and Europe as well. We work with people around the world, and it's the same everywhere. So wonderful. Well, look, Jag, thanks so much for coming on the episode today. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you the best for the remainder of the year. There isn't much of it left now, but and enjoy the holidays.
Thank you. I will. You too.
Look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks, Jag.
Thanks. Bye.